CSS tutorials are the main reason you're bad at CSS. You have been watching tutorials, maybe building projects, but when it comes to making a real layout, you still feel stuck. That's because a tutorial is going to teach you 100 properties and tell you how they work, and when it's time to actually make a new website, you'll be stuck. You will have no idea which one of these you are going to use. That's exactly why in this video I shall be teaching you how to study CSS documentation and learn any features of CSS without having to watch any tutorials. Stay with me and we're going to go through all this and understand exactly how to make sense of everything. So let's begin. If you haven't already, search for MDN CSS in your browser and you will be taken to MDN or Mozilla Developer Docs website. Let's open that up, and put simply, it's a website made by the people who made the standards for all the web pages made today. The same standard used by Google Chrome, by Microsoft Edge, by Mozilla Firefox, and every other browser. And they have written this entire website to make a documentation over all those standards they have introduced. And it might seem overwhelming. Everyone who visits it the first time is going to feel lost, they are going to feel stuck, and that's exactly what's supposed to happen. So, first of all, when someone attempts to use documentation to learn something, they try to scan it linearly. They attempt to just read through everything they find here, and this is not going to work. There are over 1,000 pages in there, and you're never going to read through them. Instead, you need to focus on a problem and just learn how to solve it. As an example, let us go to justify content property. I shall go to justify content, and it shows us a pretty huge wall of text with several different values that we most probably never going to need. In fact, let me give you an example. Here I have some code to make this centralized box with red color, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you an introduction of the flex property by using MDN docs. So at first you might note some new property or a class within your code, and if you don't know what you mean, you can either go to ChatGPT and ask it, or you can use documentation. With ChatGPT you receive a very clear and simplified introduction. With documentation you get the technical specifications you need to become an actual developer. You can simply go ahead and watch a tutorial on Flags, but this isn't going to work when you have a job and everything else. Let's go back, and here I'm going to search for Flags, and it shows a lot of stuff. I'm just going to go to Flexbox and open that up, and there's a lot of detail. We are going to skip all of that and stop at this image. And from this image, I don't know if you can tell that already, but we can note that this is aligning items within a row. It's simply aligning multiple items within a single row next to each other. And if we look around, we can find a few code examples. We can find this. We can also find that. And just by looking at those pictures without even reading any of this text, we can already tell that this is going to align items in a row, and if that row is too large it's going to create multiple rows to fit those items. And this is incredibly important. It's important because if you're making an e-commerce website, you're going to have all those products, you're going to have them side by side, and if the user is on a desktop or on a mobile device, You're going to change the number of the products within a single row to fit them on the page. Similarly, if the user is using a TV or another large device, you would have to increase the number of products so the entire page is filled. So far, we are not reading any of the text, we're simply looking at those images, not images, sorry, those are diagrams or code previews. And this is exactly what you need to do when you're reading any of the documentation. You just need to go ahead, watch the preview, and see what's happening. We can do something interesting here too. What I can do is that I can copy this example. We have our preview, and before that preview we have our code. I am going to copy that example, create a new file called that test.html, paste my code here. I said flexbox test. I pasted all the HTML here. I pasted all the CSS there. Oops, sorry, I need a style tag. And after copy pasting everything here, I'm going to go to that page. It showed me that raw, and now I can go back and try tweaking those properties to see exactly what happens. I'm going to put that here, place my browser here, and now I can test out several things. As an example, let us try increasing that value. And this is not going to make a difference here, but if I make both of them 0, this is going to make a huge difference. As you can see, putting 1 here increases the size of those boxes to fill the screen. Putting 0 here caps those boxes. And we can actually hover over this to see what's happening. Basically, this is grow. If I am going to set that as 0, the boxes are no longer going to grow. If I put this one as 0, the boxes are no longer going to shrink. If I make the box tools browser smaller, this isn't going to shrink those boxes. But if I put 1 here, it is going to make the boxes smaller to fit them in there. This isn't apparent here, but let's take another example. I can try tweaking this. I'm going to remove that, and now instead of putting those boxes on the next line, it gives us a scroll bar and puts all those boxes in a single row. And by tweaking all those properties, we can understand their purpose and use it without having to watch a whole Flexbox in 10 minutes tutorial. Now, as a developer, you're never going to go to documentation. You will have ChatGPT, you will have Claude, you will have Gemini. You're never going to go to documentation and try to find out what happens when you apply FlexWrap or FlexGo or something else. As a learner, however, documentation is important because it allows you to try out new things and experiment with properties you didn't know already. You can watch tutorials, but with tutorials, you're simply building a project and the person teaching you is guiding you by a finger. With documentation, you're free to try out anything you please. And this is exactly why documentation is important. There's one more thing that I'm going to tell you. Once you do understand how those properties work, try to remove the code, remove all that, and try to make everything by yourself once more. You wouldn't be able to replicate that exactly. You will have to go back, read through, and make it by reading it through the documentation once more, but that's completely fine. You are actually understanding what's happening, and before you know it, you will excel in everything you're trying to learn. And this is it. You're officially certified in reading documentation. But I have a homework for you. What you need to do is that you need to go to images, using gradients, and I want you to try out this this gradient by yourself, and I want you to try making a few gradients by yourself and show me what you came up with. And that's it. Thanks for watching, and we shall continue in the next video.